Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a continuation of the previous videos of the EJ25 2.5 liter single overhead cam timing belt replacement. We're going to be installing the camshafts and the rocker arms on the passenger side head today. Okay, what we got here, guys, we got both our rocker arm assemblies. We have our bearing cap support for our cam, our variable valve timing solenoid that hangs off the front or the back of the head depending on driver or passenger side. We have our cam gear, retaining hardware. We have our two new spark plug tube seals, our rear cam bearing plug, front cam seal, gasket for the variable valve timing solenoid. Tools required. We're going to need a 5mm Allen, a T40 Torx, a 12mm, a torque wrench that can read smaller or do smaller values, some ultra gray silicone Permatex to seal this to the head, wire brush, and some assembly lube. Now that we have all of our parts laid out, we're going to have to do some prep here. Again, this is the bearing cap assembly. Your rocker arms mounted here, and on the underside is your bearings for your cam. So right around this little bevel right here that goes all the way across, when you actually take this off for the first time, you'll notice a small bead of silicone that's going to be right along this area of the cap. That'll seal any oil from coming out. So what we're going to have to do is this area actually right here needs to be cleaned really well. Remove all of the old silicone and then grab a wire brush, and more specifically a brass wire brush. Once you get a majority of this out, you're just going to grab this, and you're not going to hurt anything on this casting. Just scrape it out, make it nice and clean. We want a nice clean surface when we put our new silicone on. Second part of the cleaning process, here's our rocker arms. You know, during disassembly, there's a chance to get grit and grime in here. Normally what I like to do is just take these, put them over a trash can, and do a light flush with some brake cleaner. Make sure you get all the debris off. Make sure the threads are clean. Make sure we don't have any issues with torque values. Same thing over here. Be real careful. These right here are your plungers. And these plungers are actually what make the VVT work. And if you notice, you can actually lose these. They can slide right out the end. So there's a plunger here. There's a plunger here. There's actually a plunger up in here. And this is what gets pressurized along this long tube that the solenoid controls. So just be aware. You want to make sure you don't lose these. Keep the orientation of them the same. So just be mindful, but do a nice clean, thorough cleaning with some brake clean. Get all the grime off, clean the threads again. Make sure nice and clean during this assembly. One of the first things we want to do here on the bare side is go ahead and put some assembly lube inside the bearings on these surfaces right here, including the two thrust surfaces for the cam. Then we're going to install the camshaft. Just gently set it down in there. Some tight tolerances. Now we're going to grab the cam block rocker shaft part here, and we're going to put a small bead of silicone right along this edge. You want yourself a nice continuous bead all the way around. You're really putting it right on the edge of where that bevel starts from that top edge. So when it's sandwiched, That bevel gives you an area for that RTV to build up and create a seal. One of the important things is this section right here. Once you get your beads done, you want to grab this and just do a little swipe on each one of these corners. What you want is you want this thing to seal all the way around the edge of these bearing caps to the seal or the plug for the end of the camshaft. It does not take much. Next step is we want to put our cam plug into the rear portion of our head, and on the front portion you want to go ahead and install your seal. Grab some of your assembly lube, lubricate that inside edge just to protect the seal as much as we can during initial startup. Get it as flat as you can for now. We're going to do a final little seat procedure as soon as we get the cam top in. Now we're going to go ahead and install the portion that we've already put the RTV on. Just gently lower it and give it a nice, small, even. Now, the Subaru manual tells you to install 4 bolts as a temporary hold down. It's going to be this guy, this one, and this one. Just temporarily going to snug these up. These will be torqued. Just give the cam cap a little push. Make sure your seal looks evenly seated. Looks good. Just give it ever so little bit. Now that we've installed A, B, C, and D, the next set of bolts we're going to install are these guys here. E, F, G, H, I, and J. Those are going to be set to 13.3 foot-pounds. First one being E, F, G, H, I, J. Now we're going to put the rest of the 5mm Allens in that go around the perimeter. Now that we have all the 5mm Allens installed, we're going to go ahead and torque those. 7.2 foot-pounds. Now we're going to set these in this order. K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. We're going to go back around one more time to make sure. K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, and R. We're going to go ahead and install the last two bolts. S to 7.2 foot-pounds, and T. Top plate is installed, ready for the rocker arms. Next step is to go ahead and lubricate each one of these lobes for the intake and the exhaust valves. Once we have the lobes lubricated, we're going to go ahead and start installing the rocker shaft. Let's start with the exhaust side. Just make sure the rocker shaft is seated all the way and that the rollers are lined up with the correct lobe. That's the exhaust side. We're going to go ahead and grab the intake side. And we'll just take these bolts down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and torque these in a factory sequence. This is the exhaust side, this is the intake side. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then H. We're going to start with A, and these are going to be torqued to 18.4 foot-pounds. B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. I'm going to go back over them one more time just to make sure. Next, we're going to torque these two 5mm Allens to 4.4 foot-pounds. The next step is to go ahead and put these two spring adjusters in the correct spot underneath the intake rocker arm set. And I'm going to show a photo or a video from the side so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. Next thing we have to do is we have to get this little spring plate. That round bottom needs to fit underneath that pin. If you grab yourself a 3/16 nut driver, put it up over that hole, you're going to bring this thing back and it slips underneath just like that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. That's all there is. That's all that's needed to install the camshaft and the rocker arm assemblies. Just go ahead and repeat that procedure for the other side. The next video is going to be water pump install and the actual timing belt replacement on the EJ25 single overhead cam.